She was supposed to help him heal. Instead, she became his worst nightmare. Peyton Shires, a licensed therapist, a new mother, a woman entrusted with the care of vulnerable children, used her position to manipulate, abuse, and violate a 13-year-old boy. But when the truth came out, she didn't beg for forgiveness. She didn't hide in shame. She grabbed a gun and went hunting for revenge. This is Vic's True Crime Stories, where the darkest cases are uncovered and justice is put on trial. Today's story isn't just about crime. It's about betrayal, power, and a system that failed a child when he needed protection the most. She had the perfect life. Or at least, that's what everyone believed. Peyton Shires was a therapist, hired to help broken children find their way back to light. The National Youth Advocate Program trusted her. Desperate parents sent their kids to her, hoping she could heal wounds they couldn't even understand. And why wouldn't they? On paper, she was everything you'd want in someone who held fragile lives in their hands. But paper doesn't tell the whole story, because Peyton didn't work alone. There was Nicholas, her fiancé, the man who shared her home, her bed, her future. He had a past too, one that should have sent up flares the moment Peyton stepped into that therapy room. Years before, Nicholas had been charged with sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl. The case was there, buried but not gone, a warning that never reached the right ears. And then there was the boy, just 13 years old, sent to Peyton because he was struggling, because he needed someone to guide him through the chaos in his mind. He was supposed to be safe with her. She was a professional, the expert, the one who knew how to fix what was broken. But that summer, under the guise of therapy, something shifted. The sessions stopped being about healing. The text started, messages that had no business existing between a grown woman and a child. Words that should have never been typed. Secrets that should have never been kept. And then his mother found them. One glance at her son's phone, and the illusion shattered. The messages were still there. The proof was undeniable. And in that moment, a mother's heart didn't just break. It ignited, because this wasn't just betrayal. This was a crime. And Peyton? She had no idea just how fast her world was about to collapse. But the boy's mother? She wasn't going to let this slide. And what she did next would change everything. The messages told a story Peyton never wanted anyone to read. Week after week, the text grew more explicit, more dangerous. A therapist, someone sworn to protect, was now the predator. The boy, just 13 years old, found himself trapped in a nightmare disguised as therapy. Then came the video. The undeniable proof that this wasn't just inappropriate, it was criminal. One message stood out above all others. Have you deleted the video yet? We need to make sure your mom doesn't see it. The words of someone who knew exactly how wrong this was, yet couldn't stop herself. That single sentence would become the key piece of evidence, the smoking gun that shattered Peyton's carefully constructed world. When the boy's mother saw those messages, time stopped. Every parent's worst fear had come true. The person she trusted to help her son had instead violated him in the worst possible way. But this mother didn't collapse. She didn't scream. She did something far more dangerous. She stayed calm. She went straight to the police. Phone in hand, the digital trail of Peyton's crimes preserved perfectly. The confrontation was coming. Peyton had no idea the mother had already been to the authorities when she begged her not to go to police. Please, Peyton pleaded, unaware every word was being recorded. We can work this out. The panic in her voice was real. This wasn't remorse. This was someone realizing they were about to lose everything. In that moment, the predator became the trapped animal. The therapist who manipulated a child was now the one being manipulated, walking right into a confession. The police had everything they needed. The arrest was inevitable. Justice, it seemed, was finally coming for Peyton Shires. But Peyton wasn't done yet, because when cornered, even the most calculating criminals do something stupid. And what Peyton did next, no one saw coming. The day Peyton Shires was arrested should have been the end of the story. October 6, 2023, her 24th birthday, handcuffs instead of cake, a jail cell instead of celebrations. The police had her confession. They had the video. They had the text. The case was solid and justice, it seemed, was finally catching up to her. But the system moves slowly and bail exists. They let her out. Imagine that. A woman who sexually abused a child in her care, who admitted to it, who was caught red-handed, was free to walk the streets while awaiting trial. Free to think, free to plan, and most dangerously of all, free to get angry. Because Peyton wasn't sorry for what she had done. She was sorry she got caught. And she blamed one person above all others, the boy's mother, the woman who had dared to expose her, the woman who had ruined her perfect life, the woman who, in Peyton's twisted mind, deserved to pay. So Peyton made a decision. She got a gun. Then she drove to the victim's home. We'll never know exactly what was going through her mind as she stood outside that house. Rage? Revenge? Some warped sense of justice? Whatever it was enough to make her raise that weapon and fire. Bang, bang, bang. The shots rang out, shattering the quiet of the neighborhood. Glass broke, wood splintered. But the most chilling part? No one was home. A miracle, because if they had been inside, if that mother, that boy, had been where they were supposed to be, this wouldn't just be a story about abuse. It would be a story about murder. Peyton didn't shoot to scare. She shot to kill. And that changes everything. The courtroom held its breath as the judge prepared to deliver Peyton Shires' sentence. Prosecutors had asked for 28 years, a punishment that would have seen her enter prison as a young woman and leave middle-aged. The victim's family sat quietly, hoping the system would finally deliver justice for what had been done to their child. But the justice system doesn't always work the way we expect. When the judge spoke, the numbers hit like a physical blow. For years and 9 months. Not 28 years. Not even close. With time already served in good behavior. Peyton could walk free before the boy she abused even finished high school. Let that sink in. A therapist who violated her position of trust. A woman who not only abused a child, but then tried to silence his family with gunfire. Someone who showed no remorse, only anger at being caught. And the punishment? Less time than many people serve for non-violent drug offenses. Meanwhile, the real sentence was being served elsewhere by a 13-year-old boy who would carry these scars for life. Every relationship he ever has will be shadowed by this betrayal. Every moment of intimacy will come with memories it shouldn't. That's the true life sentence here, and it was handed down not by a judge, but by Peyton Shires. The public outcry was immediate and fierce. Online forums exploded with outrage. News commentators asked the obvious question, where's the justice? How could someone who committed such calculated, repeated crimes against a child receive what amounts to a slap on the wrist? Perhaps most chilling of all, Peyton will still be young when she gets out. Young enough to start over. Young enough to have more children of her own. Young enough that someday, somewhere, she might find herself alone with another vulnerable child again. The judge called it a fair sentence. The victim's family called it a betrayal. What would you call it? Let's take a moment to reflect on what we've just uncovered. A therapist, someone sworn to heal and protect, became the very monster her young patient needed protection from. Peyton Shires didn't just betray one child. She violated the sacred trust placed in every mental health professional. And when she was caught, she didn't accept responsibility. She didn't show remorse. She loaded a gun and went hunting for revenge. The facts are chilling in their simplicity. A 13-year-old boy came for help and found horror instead. A mother's worst nightmare came true when she checked her son's phone. A justice system that promised punishment delivered what many would call a joke of a sentence. For years and 9 months? For destroying a child's innocence? For firing bullets into a family's home? What message does that send to other predators in positions of power? This case forces us to ask uncomfortable questions. Should those entrusted with our most vulnerable face harsher penalties when they become the abusers? Does our legal system truly understand the lifelong damage caused by such violations? And most importantly, how many more Peyton Shires are out there right now, hiding behind respectable job titles while preying on the helpless? I want to hear what you think. Was justice served here? Or did the system fail another child? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's have this crucial conversation. And if there's another case that keeps you up at night, another story that demands to be told, tell me about it. Your suggestions shape what we cover next. Before you go, do us both a favor. Hit that like button if this story shocked you as much as it shocked me. Subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into true crime's darkest corners. Because stories like this, they need to be told. They need to be heard. And together, we can make sure they're never forgotten. This has been Vic's True Crime Stories. Stay safe, stay aware, and I'll see you on the next one.